Hi, and welcome to our third Google Hangout installment. My name is Zach Farmer in the class of '08, and today we're actually going to be joined by Latrice Lee, class of '06. She is currently working with Rocky Mountain PBS. Latrice, thanks for joining us.
Of course, I'm looking forward to it. Any chance that I get to hang out with fellow alums is a good day for me.
So again, I mentioned that you work for PBS, so just kind of talk about what your title is and then what it is you do for the organization.
Sure. So my title, as most titles are, a little too lengthy and encompass a bunch of different things, but my title is Membership Retention Core Database Administrator. What that really boils down to is we use Salesforce, the customer management software tool, and at a program called Round Cost that basically manages our membership and revenue. So I manage a specific group in the database and I'm the administrator for the database. In addition to that, it spills into looking at our retention of our members over the years because of course, PBS around the country, and it's the same with Rocky Mountain PBS, rely on individual donations from our viewers and viewer members. So that's what I focus on, and that entails events and fundraising, of course, which I do on air 4 times a year for our TV and radio station to help garner more support.
Now, kind of talk about that that dynamic of working for a nonprofit network and how you've kind of maybe seen it change over the course of the last few years.
Absolutely. So I've, of course, always had a passion to serve coming out of St. Mary's, and nonprofits felt like a really great place for me. The beautiful merger for me was to come to PBS because PBS acts as a television station, broadcast station, as well as a nonprofit. What I've seen in Denver changing over the years is our dynamic for how we want to connect to our viewers and how we want to connect to our members. Of course, we survive on individual donations, and that is over 90% of the support that we receive. So it's really important to us to not only be able to have the space for our generations who've been watching PBS for years, we want to be able to connect with our younger generation. So we're constantly redeveloping what our web presence looks like, how our social media stamp looks, those type of things. And so that's what I will say has changed across the board for nonprofits. Ours is no exception, that we're trying to reinvent and stay ahead of how much technology is changing, because that's really the way to connect with individuals in our community, which is ultimately what we want to do.
Mm-hmm. And now kind of go back and describe like your journey of how you ended up at PBS and falling into media in general.
Sure. My degree is in communications, and I took a journalism focus. So broadcast via print or over the air was always journalism, print or over the air was me. So after St. Mary's, I moved down south to Long Beach, and I actually worked for a small starter nonprofit there and got the nuts and bolts of kind of how it works, because it is indeed business. That took about 4 or so years, and I grew with that organization and decided I wanted to relocate back home to Denver. So I relocated, and that process applied to a job here that was initially in our sales department, got the job, and that was kind of the history. So I've been at PBS now for about 5 years. We are undergoing a big capital campaign looking to move and rebrand and connect with other partners here in the city. So again, the growth has just been phenomenal, but the passion was always there for me for broadcast as well as nonprofit. And so this just seemed like a perfect place. And it was really as easy as applying for that sales job. And I've since moved, of course, to the membership side. I've been on this side of things for about 2 years.
And kind of about that relationship that you end up having with the different donors that you do have, whether, especially considering it probably ranges age-wise, and just how the different ways you kind of go about approaching like someone from the different generations. Did you hear me?
Sure.
Okay.
We have a very sweet spot viewer. Our sweet spot viewer is about 70 years old. They're very, very philanthropic. They love PBS because they watch every to the Lawrence Welk show. And of course, their kids grew up watching Sesame Street. So we have really identified with that group, mostly because of their loyalty. Our other sweet spot viewer is moms or dads who are stay at home and watch with their children. One of the great things about PBS is you can leave it on for your child and not have to worry about anything outrageous coming on the air. It's very educational. It's going to be a safe space, and we encourage stay at home moms or dads or childcare sitter to co-watch with the kids while they're home. So I would say that's always going to be the PBS audience. As far as how we continue to connect, we have community events throughout the year. We put on an insane amount of events, and a lot of them are free for our members because we want to do that touch point, we call it, with our members. So for example, one of the things that we do every year is called our Kids Fun Fest, and it is just like it sounds. It's an all-day affair. They come here to the station, and we have a variety of things that happen throughout the day. We bring out all the characters, Curious George and Clifford and all the cool characters that the kids are looking forward to meeting. And that is, again, free. And that's what we call our friend raising event. People and their time and their viewing is just as important as their financial donation. On the donation side, we offer specific benefits to members who come out, which is what we're years, and we'll keep that going. So that continues to, again, generate revenue for us, but we're just really looking for ways to continue to connect and continue to fundraise because, of course, there's a lot of great places that folks can donate to, and we hope to be that place year after year.
What do you think has been one of the greatest challenges that you've faced since being at PBS?
Great question. I thought on this one for a bit. I think it's twofold. I will say the biggest challenge is, one, continuing to reinvent ourselves, staying ahead of the game. And the flip side of that is not moving too far away from who we are as a brand. I think PBS is one of the most trusted brands across the United States. And when we start to look different, people kind of want to pull away from that. So growth is a great thing, but growth sometimes is a hard one to move far from what our original intent and purpose is, which is to be free and available for people to enjoy, and still do that knowing that we need to continue to fundraise in order to provide, for example, great local content. We do a lot of local content here in Denver, but it's an expensive endeavor to have your own film crew going around the state, having that interview time with different artists or stories. Those things we wish were less expensive than they are. So trying to make that balance, and just making sure that I always have the place to grow, both professionally and personally. If I feel like I'm hitting a ceiling, I talk with my immediate manager and team about how I can continue to be challenged, because, you know, we all want to make sure we're going in and doing something every day that we feel like challenges us and pushes us to the next level. So that's what I would say would be the biggest challenges.
All right. And over the course of time working in nonprofits in general, what has been one of the more rewarding things you've been able to do?
I have the luxury of talking to our members on the phone every day, be it something as simple as I'm updating their information within our database, helping them troubleshoot one of our new benefits, which is called Passport. It's video content that's only available for Passport members, so you need to donate at a specific level. Or watching a 5-year-old meet Clifford for the first time is probably all of my rough days, because it's extremely rewarding to remember that what these kids are seeing on TV makes a huge, huge impact in their life when they are meeting that character and they're meeting Clifford for the first time. So all of that is rewarding. People truly, truly love PBS. And they truly love that's been around for us in Denver 60 plus years. And it's phenomenal, that response to something. There's a lot of TV, there's a lot of options to what you want to watch, and people still tune in to watch us on such a loyal basis that made me overwhelmingly proud. I was on the way back from California telling a mother who I was sitting next to that I work for PBS, and the response is amazing. I don't know what other job I could have where people truly want to hug me because I work for what we do on a day-to-day.
Did you ever have like that own moment, like when you walked in the building, or like had that moment of a little bit of nostalgia when in the times that you probably watched PBS when you were younger?
Absolutely. I was definitely a Sesame Street girl and a Bob Ross girl. And it's just incredible to me to think, wow, I get to be a part of that now. Bob Ross is still so peaceful. It's what I like to watch when I need to calm down. So yeah, I think it is absolutely nostalgic, and it's cool to be a part of the upward trend of how we're trying to grow both nationally and locally.
So kind of being in this industry, since you've left St. Mary's, what was been one of the more eye-opening aspects of the industry as a whole that you learned while on the job? I don't know, but so what was the most eye-opening aspect of the nonprofit industry that you learned while you were kind of on the job over the last few years?
Sure. I would say eye-opening. I'll say this on my first experience with a nonprofit and then transfer to my experience with PBS. My first experience as a nonprofit being that it is a business. That was kind of hard for me to grasp at first. As I mentioned earlier, all of us at St. Mary's, it's ingrained in us to serve, and I really do apply that across the board. And so it was hard for me when I realized, well, I work for a nonprofit, I'm here to serve, but that there is a very, very huge business component of that and a corporate component of that I was introduced to at PBS here in Denver. Our current CEO came from the banking industry, and so he runs our business very methodically as far as the revenue and that piece of it. And so that is hard to translate when, again, we're wanting to be here for the community, we're wanting to be here for the people. Of course, the revenue is important, so we have to balance both sides. So that's probably been the most eye-opening for me, in that all cut from the same cloth. We can be blanketed as a nonprofit, but we operate very, very differently outside of kind of how we have to report year end. It can be a huge variation on what a nonprofit does to both grow and survive and continue to serve their community. It just is amazing how differently we all do the same work.
And kind of talking about that relationship that you talk about, how many community partners you have to work with to kind of get the message out there and all to be able to bring more viewers in and bring those donations in. Like, talk about that relationship with the community as a whole. I think we may be having actually a little bit of connectivity issues. So what I said was that, can you talk about like the
I caught a part of that.
Yeah, so, no worries.
Let me have you sum it up again and make sure I got it right.
Yeah.
You spoke a little bit to our relationships with our community partners?
Yes. Just talk about that relationship with your community partners.
Okay. And I'm sure you all are also familiar with the saying, it takes a village. That is absolutely the case. What we realize is there is to connect with both our corporate partners as well as other nonprofit partners to do the work, because when we all come together, such a better product. That Kids Fun Fest event that I mentioned does happen across the state. Each PBS station calls it something a little different, but we work with, just to put on that day, about 50 different community partners. And the community partners that are on the corporate side help underwrite, for example, a jump house, so that the kids, when they arrive, have an opportunity to play in the jump. So work with other food vendors as food and drink and to just kind of snack throughout the day and have a good time. So it really is about not only raising awareness, but it's about kind of co-branded with, us as Rocky Mountain PBS are so associated with a co-bank, if you will. That's a huge part to, oh, well, I bank at this bank and I watch PBS. So it's a very cool merger for us, and it just increases, again, the awareness and the work that we're all here.
Kind of talking about a little bit more about that, of like how maybe it's different in certain areas. I don't know like how much you are communicating with the other PBS affiliates, but is it easier in certain areas as far as like there's closer community, or are there sects of the community that that you're able to actually, I guess, attract a little bit easier, or seem to want to be part of it a little bit better or more?
Sure. I don't know if there's a specific group within the community. I think because we are over the air and we have a subset of people that are automatically, regardless if they show up to events or if they donate, our community looks very diverse because our listeners are very diverse and our viewers are very diverse. So if I had to pick a kind of niche group, it would be our moms and dads who are watching with their kids. And those moms and dads watched PBS when they were younger. And so that kind of generation exchange is a really cool thing. But again, I do think that we have a enormous amount of support from young professionals, kind of our age, to our baby boomers who, again, watch very specific shows. They love our news shows. They're going to tune in for that every day or every week. And then we have our young kids who love our science related programs, and our kids block is the biggest block that we have throughout the day. It takes up about 5 hours on a daily basis of just kid shows, and that is huge. So that's all, of course, a big demographic of people are watching and are supporting.
Now, as we start to wrap it up a bit, what's one piece of advice, or what's something that you wish you had known right as you were about to come out of St. Mary's, that you'd want to be able to pass along to the current students?
Absolutely. I would say that if there isn't a job available, if there's not a for you to work and be compensated right away, don't hesitate to volunteer or look at an internship, even though it feels like, well, I was in college. Don't miss that opportunity. It really is an easy connection to get in. A lot of who we have on staff, a good percentage, are folks who interned with us or volunteered with us, and when the opportunity became available, they were first in line. So I do think that is huge. Kind of learned it by default coming out of St. Mary's, but would have loved to say, hey, well, of course, that's my way to get my foot in the door. If that opportunity, don't hesitate to, you may or may not be ready for, go for it. Just do it, because you never know. Learning on the job is a real thing. It is more regular than not that you're kind of learning your skill set as you're working, and that's so normal in the work world. I was not prepared for that. I thought, well, I need to know A, B, and C and have these skills before I can apply. No. On the job training is a real thing. So do take advantage of that. That would be my advice, definitely.
All right. Thanks a lot, Latrice, for getting a chance to chat with us. Good luck the rest of the year. And you said you guys have a jazz event coming up this week, correct?
Yes, we do. KUVO.org. You can stream us online. If you love jazz, listen to some good music there. And we're looking forward to our big fundraising event for the year.
All right, thanks a lot. Thanks for everyone who was able to catch a Google Hangout, and we'll be back next month with a new conversation with another alum. And once again, thanks a lot, Latrice.
Thank you, Zach. You're doing a great job with this. Keep it going.